Welcome to Get Moxie, the lifestyle talk show, where we'll be delivering invigorating and solution-focused conversations which will cause your life to be your best life. Welcome your host and lovely life coach, Miss Nellie B, and the Moxie Gent himself, Mr. Eli Isabel. So get ready to enjoy your life, but do it right, because it's time to get Moxie.
Welcome to Get Moxie, the Lifestyle Talk Show. I am your host, Coach Nellie B, and we are back today on Your Laffer TV 28. I'm also joined with my co-host, Mr. Eli Isabel, the Moxie Gent himself.
Hey.
What's going on, Eli?
Hey, I'm just glad to be here. I feel like we haven't been here in forever.
Yes, it's been a minute.
First show of the new year. I'm excited. We have a great topic for you guys today. We have a great panel, and you guys are really going to enjoy this. So we're going to get into our topic, but first, before we do that, we want our panel to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start over my right shoulder.
Zania.
Sade.
I'm Marlena.
I'm Stockton.
Clark.
Yes, thank you guys for all joining us. We're very happy to have you here, our first show of the new year. This is going to be exciting, Janelle. What do you think?
Definitely. Happy 2016. We are excited. We're excited. So today, as you see, we have a mixture of panelists, and we are excited because today we are talking about what do men really desire in a woman? What do they really want in a woman? What are they really looking for? And so today we have 4 men here with a wonderful panel of women that we're going to share the secrets today. I thought Steve Harvey had something. Wait till this show.
And how often do you get the opportunity to really sit down with some men to your left and right, and they can tell you the truth about what they're looking for? So
Right.
Today, we really plan to get into that. You guys, please stay tuned and enjoy the show as let's get this thing started, Janelle.
Let's get it started. All right, so we want to open the floor, of course, we want to talk about men, because in relationships, it can be rough. And a lot of times, especially as women, because we are naturally born nurturers, we have a hard time really understanding what men really desire, what you really want. We will sit there and we will assume, and we know what happens when we assume, right? It doesn't turn out too good. So for the women today that are here on the panel, we're going to ask the men some questions. For the men, we want to know all the secrets. Help us have a better relationship with you guys by understanding what you really want. So I want to start off today with the men here tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. So my first question is, and we're going to start head in, right, ladies? We're going to start head in? Yeah. All right, so my first question is this to the gentlemen on our panel, including our very own co-host, Eli. Why do men lie so much? Yeah, we're going to go straight for the jugular. We just going to go in. So men, help us. Somebody help us. Why do men lie so much?
First of all, men don't lie.
Okay, untruthfully.
For men, as we grow older, we find that if you tell the truth, your day might not go so smooth. So, we start off telling small lies just to make our day go smoother. Like, instead of saying you lost all your money after work, you come up with a little small lie. I didn't get paid as much this week. I didn't work overtime, things like that. Then it grows into bigger things just to make the household go smoother. Anything past that is you being deceitful, but most men aren't being deceitful. They just want to have a happy day. That's all.
Exactly.
So,
I had to add on to that one. I wouldn't really call it a lie. I would call it a unique response to queries.
I like that.
no.
I like that.
That doesn't fly.
The women ask us questions, the more we have to kind of formulate an appropriate response that may seem like it's a lie, but it's not really a lie. It's just an appropriate response.
An appropriate response.
For example, where did you go today? Well, and that's it. If you say anything else, you're in trouble. But if you say something that may seem like you did something actually, like, well, I played golf today. Sure you did. And then it just follows into a line of questioning. So all we're doing is responding to questions.
Wow. You know what? Lim, go ahead, Lim, jump in there.
I was just going to say, I don't think men lie. We omit certain things. I think that's the easiest way to play it safe. I think a lot of times women think they can handle the truth until you hit them with the truth,
Right.
and then they just can't handle it, and then it just, snowballs into something else. So we don't lie. We omit certain information to
Okay.
protect the innocent.
But if we want to go technically, there is something called an omission of lie, and that means that it's still a lie. So whether the female can handle it or not, and like I think it was Clark who said we're trying to have a happier day. At what point are you considering the female? Because a relationship is not as selfish. When you come into a
We're
relationship, it's
considering
not,
the female.
unselfish.
Let me tell you, we're considering the female when we tell you something that it may not be the absolute truth, but it'll ruin your day. So I'm thinking about you before when I tell you this little lie that I'm making up. So you're not upset. So you're not mad. So we are thinking about the female, because sometimes it could be something really innocent. Okay, where did I go today? I could say, all right, I went to lunch and with my friends, or I went to the strip club on my lunch break. Which one does she really want to hear? You know what I mean? Technically, I did eat at the strip club, but I was at the strip club. So which one? I'd rather tell my woman, hey, I went to lunch with the fellas, but me and the fellas ate lunch at the strip club. You're not going to get the strip club part. It just makes my life easier, and it makes you not be upset.
Is that right?
You know what? The whole thing is the basis of a lie is manipulation, right?
Right.
So I think it's disingenuous to say, okay, why do men lie? Because, I mean, really, we lie for the same reasons that women lie. And we all tell lies because we all manipulate and we all try to put forth our best foot. So whether you're trying to keep the peace, whether, you're trying to avoid arguments, but the thing is, at the basis, the root basis is you don't trust your partner
Right.
with that truth. And
Amen.
as men and as women, when we say, hey, you know what, just tell us the truth, we'll be cool. Don't lie. Say what you mean what you say. So my thing is, there's a balance to it too.
Right.
Nobody wants to be manipulated, but nobody wants the hard, brutal truth. So we all manipulate each other. You know what I mean? It's just the levels of manipulation that we do. Now, there's a difference between, as Eli said, going to the strip club on your lunch break, which that's a good lunch break, but home, you know what I mean? I personally don't have that much of a long lunch break to enjoy that. But, and, seeing your mistress, you know what I mean? And where was you at, like, 10 o'clock at night? Oh, I was with such and such, and you got to call the home, you have to cover me. That's a whole different scenario. So if you are in a relationship where you have to tell the little white lies or a reality to keep the peace in your house, I say challenge that partner. Like, listen, I should be able to at least tell you, whatever, without you coming at my neck.
Right.
Although I am in a relationship, I don't cease being me as an individual.
Right. And that's what I was going to go back to is, then we have to look at the partner that we're dealing with. Because
Right.
then there's a level of insecurity on that part where you need to now evaluate, the genuineness of the relationship. Why can't you tell the truth and it be okay? Because like you said, although we are together, you're still a male. This is why I always wondered why a lot of females, often, come to me and Nelly, my man was looking at another female. Well, what's the problem? At least he's straight. I mean, it's not like he's going after her and he's, trying to holler at her. It'd be a little bit different. But if he's just looking at another female, to me, I'm like, that's no problem. But there's a level of security that comes with that. And I think when we make these decisions to be with these people, we have to really be secure and sure of who we're dealing with to prevent a lot of these factors.
Or, to boot, I think you also need to come into a relationship whole. People come into a relationship, they're broken from the last situation.
Right.
They're not over, he cheated on me, so now the minute I do anything that remotely looks like what the last guy did,
Right.
you're him. So now I get all of that heat and drama.
Right.
People are jumping from relationship to relationship and they're not healing themselves and coming into the situation whole, which means I got to lie to you about going to the strip club with the fellas
Right.
at lunchtime.
Right,
It just
right.
kind of happens with the territory.
a gentleman shared with me that one way to get over a bad relationship or a breakup is to just get into a new one. Men, what do you think? Ladies, what do you think?
Definitely agree. The best way to get over old strains is to get over new strains. That's a rule. You know that. That's true.
Do you,
For
Clark,
men.
do you think, okay, that works for you, but
Yeah.
do you think that emotionally, like especially for women, I think it's difficult for them to jump from one to the next. So with us, we're looking at body, we're looking at booty, we're looking at all these things that we're physically attracted to. So, oh yeah, that's looking real good right now.
You mentioned the key word, emotion. So women are mostly geared with emotion in a relationship. Entirely different from men. We deal with it logically. So we deal with how we feel at that particular time, logically in our day plan. Whereas ladies get really emotionally tied to their relationship. So they kind of put an unfair disadvantage in it because they're rating us based upon what has happened to them in the past. So we're always graded upon something. We don't know what the grade's going to be or what we're being graded upon. So it's always a challenge, and it can be very frustrating because we're trying to do the best we can to make the relationship blossom or even start or even happen, but we don't know what we're being graded upon.
Speaking on to what you said about emotions, there are some gentlemen that are a little emotional
Yes.
when it comes down to the power of a woman. So I think it plays on both parts. Men are devastated when they're lied to and deceived. It's hard for them to bounce back from that. Women, we find it in our hearts to be able to forgive. We don't forget. We forgive, and we're able to nurture that situation, trying to get it back to where it used to be, even though it's not. Once you lie to a person, you question everything after that moment. That's why you want to eliminate as much as possible. If you're about to be in a situation where you might have to lie, maybe you might not need to be in that situation.
Right.
So,
I want to jump to, go ahead, I'm sorry, Affy, go ahead. Go ahead, you had a comment? Okay, I want to jump to something that Eli and I discussed on a radio show, and it goes into kind of what you were saying. Eli brought up a situation where, for instance, you're in a relationship and you have a side piece, a person that you're dealing with outside of your relationship, and it's secretive. It's on a low. It's not an open relationship. And Eli brought up the statement that you can't cheat on a cheat. I would love to hear your insight to that. You can't cheat on a cheat, and I guess this is from a male's perspective. So if Eli and I are married, hypothetically, because we're not, but if Eli and I are married and Eli has a relationship with one of the young ladies over there, the young lady cannot go out and have a relationship with anybody else or be in relations or have sex with anyone else because that lady is cheating on the cheat.
Well, that's kind of crazy to me. I've come across situations where you had actually married men and married women wilding out on their side piece, whatever. But my thing is this, in my younger years, when I was more reckless, and mercenary, my thought process was, your situation is your situation. If I know your dude, I know him. But if I don't know him, I'm not going to go out on my way to, investigate, especially if the situation was what it was. But I'll be damned if somebody regulate what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? When they can't get calls after 8 o'clock because I'm going to clown them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to say, you know what? You're trying to blow me up.
Right.
How about I call you at 9:30 and see what you're doing?
Wow.
You know what I mean? So the thing is, but you have all different flavors of people, right? You have people who are victims. You have people who are users. You have people who, they say they don't want to be used, but they give out that vibe. So if you allow yourself into a situation where somebody else is dictating your household from their household, and you are the secondary woman, the third woman, whatever, you know what I mean, then that's something that you allow.
Right.
But I think that in this day and age, as I'm getting older and I'm, starting to look behind the curtain more, a lot of these happy couples, you know what I mean, they got a lot more going on in the background, like this whole
Right.
polygamy thing,
Right.
these poly couples and all that. So sometimes, you have situations where you're like, oh, wait a minute, my uncle is cheating on my aunt, but then you find out that they have an understanding.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, what the hell's going on? So, but in a nutshell, if you allow yourself to be manipulated, if you allow yourself knowingly, to go into such a situation, you get what you get.
Right.
And let me be clear. I know someone has a statement. Let me be clear. I'm not saying that is right. I'm just saying I've known situations, and I've been in situations in the past when I was younger that if you my girlfriend on the side, you can't sleep with nobody else. And I know men who think that way, and I know women who think that way too. Like if I'm messing around with you or my husband, then you can't be sleeping with this one, and that one. Even though you're single, you're my man. And again, that's not everybody.
That's
just
your girl.
no. What I'm saying,
I just want to be clear.
no, yeah. But what I'm saying is that that's not across the board. There are
Right.
some people who think that way. That's why I say you can't be cheating on the cheating.
And I
You
just
know?
wonder because I mean I don't know if this is just a male mentality because I mean I know there are some females that are very
Yes.
aggressive and very strong in that nature, but I was just wondering. Go ahead, you should comment.
Well, I think in theory, I think that's what we want. You know, you want your side piece to be exclusive to you and you only. But what I find that can create some difficulty too. If you're gonna do it like that, you want somebody who has just as much to lose as you. You know, and when you find someone who, has a lot of free time or idle time and their happiness comes through you, the more you get involved, the more they're going to want that time and the more it's going to infringe on the relationship that you have. Whereas if they have someone else, they're out doing their own thing. I see you when I see you. We'll connect when we connect and, we're done. But if they don't have that other thing going on, man,
A lot of pressure.
what
Yeah.
Jasmine Sullivan say, bust the windows out your car. That's what you could kind of run into with that situation. So, I mean, in theory, I think it works, but in practice, not always.
Right. No, definitely, I agree. Does anybody else have any feedback or comment about that particular topic?
So it's kind of like having a buddy, an F buddy. You got to kind of be careful because once you have the F buddy and you have fun with the F buddy and it crosses that line where emotions get into it, it messes everything up. And that's what the people who have side jump offs and everything. It always is an F buddy. And what really messes it up is when those emotions kick in. And you can't do nothing about them when emotions kick in because someone's going to start feeling a certain way. Next thing you know, the windows are bust out your car, the car's keyed up, you have stalker attitude and everything. It's a nasty situation.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They have this one saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So my thought is that, if there's a man out there who already has a partner and he is allowing himself to just be exclusively with that one woman, but she can't be with anyone else, then you shouldn't be upset, point blank. Because again, if you can do it, if you're man enough to be out there and you're willing to do it, knowing that you have something huge to sacrifice, why put yourself in that situation anyhow? And the one thing about us women is that we already know the situation that we're in, because in all honesty, if we're making an agreement to be that partner, then we're willing to allow you to give up what you already have in order for us to be the one. So sometimes it's a silent hope in order for us to be the chosen one, when in all actuality, that's not happening.
Yeah, and even with that being the side piece, I know a lot of women, we always feel like we can change the man. Although he's married, apparently he's not happy with his marriage or his committed relationship. So I'm the side piece, and I could change him because of the power of the vagina, right? However, we've come to learn that the vagina does have some power, but it ain't got all power.
It's not the end all be all.
End all be all.
Because you talk to any man and he'll tell you the best vagina is a new vagina.
Right.
So ladies, don't put so much stock into your vagina and the power that it has. Although it is great.
It has power.
It has power. But let's not, yeah.
A new vagina will also get old after a while.
They all do, yeah.
So, but I mean, that's the mentality of the women. That's the mentality of the women. We have to understand that. There's something Eli always stresses on the radio show. It's crazy. Eli always stresses that women, we set the standard for men. What we allow is what men are going to do. And a lot of us have lowered our standards. So because we have the power, we don't really understand the power we possess of our vagina, we allow that to run us. And then when it gets old and now he's no longer with us, now we're busting our car windows and everything else. So I think a part of it does have to come to men not accepting or setting these kind of standards for us, but also us women having a level of confidence that we know it's more to us to give than just our vaginas.
But the power is neutralized. Here's how the power of the vagina, in my opinion, is neutralized. When women do have the power, they have the vagina, but then when they're lonely and they're emotional and the holidays are coming up, you know what? That power of that vagina gets neutralized.
Right.
Because you just want somebody to be there. It's cold. You want to be booed up. You want to do all those things. So the vagina can't lose its power certain times of the year.
Right.
Or depending on where the woman is emotionally. I'm friends with it. We get along well.
Well, I feel as though another thing that we're stressing, sex is not always the most important thing in a relationship.
Right.
The vagina and the penis, it really don't have anything to do with how long I'm gonna stay and how good of a relationship we're gonna have. A man can get instant gratification from, touching himself at any time. A man can have, an orgasm. That's the different type of power that we have. But a relationship is more than, just sex. You got a reason why you're out of your home over with that person. And it's not just because of sex. It's because of, your house is not a comfort zone that it should be right now. You're going through problems, and you don't feel comfortable there. You go somewhere else to feel comfort. Sex happens while you're feeling comfort because that's the only way you know how to communicate. Right. I mean, so the sexual part comes because we're two adults in the same space, and we're not going to talk. So let's do the next best thing to, to fill each other out.
Wow, that's good stuff.
But sex is not the main reason why men stray.
That's good stuff.
Right, and you know what? I just speak about that power of the P, as we were saying. Actually, it's cyclical. You know what I mean? Men have power, women have power. I mean, if you look at what drives women's fashion, what makes a woman think, want to wear makeup, want to wear certain items of clothes. It's not to attract just their attention. They're trying to attract the attention of the opposite sex. I mean, men do the same thing. So it's really a cyclical thing. We have power over each other. Now, whether we use that power to build or whether we use that power to, knock down one another, that's a whole different thing. But in a relationship, it's a compromise. You know what I mean? There is no relationship that should have such an imbalance of power that one is put way up on the pedestal and the other one is not getting their needs met. You know what I mean? I didn't marry, a woman to tell her what to do or just to submit to me, just to submit. I mean, quite frankly, I got a female dog at home, and me and her, we cool. You know what I mean? I taught her to go fetch, she fetch. We got a good relationship. But as far as a wife goes, this is the person who I trust with my money. This is the person who I trust with my seed. This is the person who I trust, with my inner secrets. Right. So the relationship is way more than just sex, of course. Men don't see it like that. I mean, that companionship is there. And one of the things that I tell to my female friends when they say, how can I get my man? How can I get my man to do this, that, the other, treat me right? You know what? Be a friend to your man. If you are your man's best friend, think about it like this. A man will go to jail for years for a friend, a best friend. They won't snitch. They'll do whatever time, you know what I mean? So if you are your man's best friend, you vastly decrease the chances that he's going to do you dirty. It's an extra level of security, you know what I mean? Because now you're not just his woman. When he thinks of doing you dirty, he's like, okay, this is my homie, I can't do that, you know what I mean? So become your man's friend, you know what I mean? And if you are interacting with somebody in a relationship in that getting to know you phase, if you don't have the capacity to become best friends, why are you trying to tie yourself to somebody like that for a lifetime? For what?
So should you become a best friend before you get in a relationship or once you're in the relationship?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
I know that there's a saying that I've came about is that I'm always a friend, never the one.
Right.
Because I know there's a lot of girls that have become friends with the males and they become like a male, like a dude, like they've been just that tight. But then when they want to get to that intimacy part and that connection part to become one in a relationship, the guy's not really interested, but they are that best friend. They're that one they can go to about anything. You can hide everything with me. You can do it, so how does that
But there's a balance
work?
there. Just like, it's not, I think one of the things, if I could generalize, which I hate doing, a lot of times women tend to overthink that aspect. Just like with women, you got people who are in your permanent friend zone. They might not want to be there, but they're there, you know what I mean? So they had aspirations to be greater, but they didn't keep that balance, and now you see them as just a friend. So the same thing with a man. You want to become that friend. You want to become that person they can confide in. But at the same time, you don't want, like you said, you become one of the homies. You don't want to become one of the homies. Okay. You still want to be seen as, somebody, as a woman, as somebody desirable. I still want to, get with you. I still want to sleep with you. But for me, natural progression. Become a friend, become a best friend, become a wife.
Okay.
In the when you first meet someone, what works for me is I had to be your friend. When I got my divorce, what caused that divorce to happen was we stopped being friends. We were friends for years before we were actually married. But as soon as we stopped being friends, we stopped doing things. We stopped doing things together. It was almost like a competition between my wife, my son, and me. So it was like, that's not what a marriage is supposed to be like. So let's just make an agreement. We shook about it, had some glass of wine, and let's get a divorce. So we stopped being friends. And when people ask me what caused my divorce, I'm straight up now. I say, we stopped being friends. If you have a strong relationship, especially a marriage, and things aren't going right all the time, you have to have something you go back on, that foundation. That foundation should be your friendship. You're going to have some rocks and valleys and stuff, whatever happens, those high points, those low points. But if you have that base, that concrete foundation, that friendship layer, if you can't build upon it in the very beginning, and you have that uncomfortable pause, after sex, before sex, after a hard day at work, or after someone didn't pay the bill or something, what are you going to talk about? What are you going to have after all that stuff is gone?
Right.
Oh, no, I just agree with the brothers. I agree. I think, a lot of times people are so eager to be in relationships that they bypass that friendship aspect, which is key. They jump over it in a sense because they're eager to get to that relationship. And I think you can do that. But like the brother said, when it hits that lull and you're looking to fall back on something, you realize there's no foundation here. Right. We're in a relationship, but we're not friends. And when it's time to fall back on that friendship and you have nothing, your relationship will dissolve. And that's why you have a lot of relationships dissolving, I believe, because they're not friends. They're not friendly, they just existing in each other's space, and that happens all too often.
And I agree. I do think their mate needs to be your friend. Now, but my question is, can your mate, and women, you speak to this too, can your boyfriend or your husband, can he really be your best friend? Because there's some things I can say to my boy, my best friend, my best male friend. I can't tell my wife that. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be too much drama. Right. So if best friend mean I can tell you every and anything like I can my boy, I don't think that's possible for a man to be able to do that with his woman. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Ladies, how do you feel about that regarding your mate, your male mate?
Well, if you feel that you can't trust her with all your innermost secrets, then why are you really with her if you can't trust her?
And okay, so you're asking me that? Yes. So because that leads back to the little white lies we tell to make everybody's day go a little bit better. It's not that I'm deceiving you, but if me and my boy are on Market Street and this girl walks by, she's amazing, body's great, and I call him, I says, yo, listen, I just saw this woman, she's fine. Can I call my woman at work and says, listen, I just saw this girl, she fine as hell. I'm just saying, like, little things like that.
If she's secure in herself, and like I went back to earlier, for me, if my man is sitting there and he sees another woman, I'll even say, wow, she has a nice butt. Like, that she better go. One day I'm going to get that, too. I have no problem with that. Now, if you're going off to the point where you're like, wow, baby, she was amazing, and then you're like, yeah, and then I went up to her and I talked to her, and then it becomes a problem. But for me personally, I think it depends on the female's level of security.
Okay.
Because it sounds like it can be different levels of best friends here. You're saying a best friend where you share everything with, and you're saying why does it matter? It shouldn't be. You're saying you have one, and your wife you can share some stuff with your wife, but
right.
So there are different levels of a best friend.
Here's the real reason why. Well, men and women can't share wholly because, like I said, first of all, women are emotional. And then it comes a time, like, you're naturally emotional. You have your PMS, your menstrual cycle, all that stuff comes around. We don't know what day that is. We don't know if that's the day we should call and say we saw that girl. Because that day we call, you don't feel like you did yesterday. You feel bloated. You feel like I'm going to leave you. And if I say the wrong thing for next 7 days, I got to hear, until you feel fresh again, I got to hear all your problems. My boy don't have that problem. So
I have to interrupt.
Every day I call him, you're going to speak for yourself. You're going to speak about how you feel. But as a man, we all know, and you women know, that you have snapped out on your man for no reason during that time of month. And if you say you didn't, it should matter because we got to know when to approach you. We got to know how to approach you. We got to know if I should say this today or wait till next week to say it. We have to know these things.
But this point that you're making, okay. I understand, but I don't understand. Because at the end of the day, men are just as unpredictable as women are. And in all honesty, we may have a calendar to tell you when our time is going to come. A man's day could be every other day. And sometimes we can come to you and be, sweetie, I love you. I need you to take out the trash. I don't feel like doing it. But sometimes at that point, you have to realize that when a woman is sharing something with you, it's not because we're waiting for an immediate attack. It's also based off of the fact that we want reciprocated what we're already giving out. And because that doesn't happen quite often, I believe that having a spouse or a boyfriend as a friend is good. But just as us women, I don't believe that it's important for me to tell my spouse or my friend everything about me. Because at the end of the day, if I tell you that I was abused at 16, you're going to use that against me. And if you're going to use that against me, and if I'm telling you that in confidence, then I trust that you're going to go and walk with me through this path in order for me to be able to come out. And sometimes I don't think that men understand that women go through a lot. We wear 100 different hats. A man wears 2. Women wears 10. We still have our children. We still have our jobs. We still have our regular responsibilities. So the PMS factor of it is not just based on her exploding. It could be based off of the fact that she may need you to just pat her on the back and say thank you. You know, so sometimes we miss the small cues because we're looking for the blow up, when in all actuality, all we need to do is just sit back and wait for certain things to happen. And I think that men wait for women to explode. Like, you want us,
Like there's an expectation.
yes, you want us to fuss when you get home 5 minutes late. You want us to question you when you walk through the door. You want us to ask you how much money you have in your pocket, where you've been. It's like you expect those kind of things. But there are some women out
you hear
there,
yourself?
all
Do
we
you
want
hear
you to do, all we want you to do is come home.
Do you hear yourself?
You know what? I gotta after that. But you know what? I think we're mixing a whole bunch of different issues. Like, okay, so you can actually be a best friend, but there's levels. Like one big thing about me and my relationship is, you know, we have our friendship, but another cornerstone is mutual respect. Right. Do not disrespect me. So in a case of, you know, other women out there, yes, there's other women out there, there's other men out there. You know what I mean? A vacation that me and the missus took down in Miami, they had this, my thing is, I'm a breast man. They had this sister walking up, you know, and she had, you know, whatever, and I'm trying my best to keep my eyes for her because I'm checking. I know she's, my wife is, you know, checking me, and I'm keeping everything game tight, hand to hand and everything. Homegirl gets like a foot in front of me and say, hey, and I'm like, hi. You know what I mean? So the brain just, I'm like, what did I do? And I'm waiting for the wife, like you say, to explode. But, you know, this is when it comes down to knowing your partner. So she laughed and said, well, Bazooka Jane was hooked up out there, and we laughed about it. So when we talk about the power of a man and a woman, what do you use your power to do? To build or to tear down? If you have a wall up and you're guarding that wall, and if anybody step over that line, you're trying to destroy them, well, you're at a state of war. Well, how is that comfortable? So you have that respect there. And, you know, not to say that, you know, the missus don't have an eye. I mean, she's a woman, too. We went to see the 300 for the first time. And I swear, everybody had abs. The little boy came out with abs, and my wife and her female friend and her husband, we went to go see it together, and they're giggling like schoolgirls. I'm like, man, you done ruined this movie for me, you know what I mean? But, you know, you laugh at that. If that's what it takes to cause a war between you and your spouse or you and your boyfriend, you know what I mean? You need to check that relationship. But at the same time, there's boundaries too. So as Ed's or Eli's, you know, example, no, I'm not going to call the missus up. Hey, you know, there was a banging girl on Market Street, because that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? There's certain things you keep to yourself. There's certain things you keep to your homies. But for instance, there's an ex, and Lord knows, again, I hate to generalize, but y'all women seem to pick out a particular ex that y'all just don't like. So I ran into this ex that my wife particularly don't like. And I said, you know what? I ran into so-and-so on Market Street, which actually did happen. We had like a, you know, 10-minute conversation. So if it get back to you, that's what was going on. And she thanked me for it. She said, thank you. And her big thing is, I don't want no surprises because, you know, I trust you. So if somebody came back to me with a story, I'm looking at you like, okay, this is something minor. Why is it coming like that? So we have a responsibility,
and women have a responsibility.
Right.
Because it's a compromise.
And I was going to hit on that and say there's a personal responsibility in relationships for each person involved, whether it be poly or whatever, or monogamous. There's a personal responsibility, and like you were talking about, DK, the boundaries have to be set, and the respect has to be put in place in order to have an effective relationship. I want to throw a question out there as we move a little bit further in this conversation. Can you tell us what are some things that women do unknowingly in the bedroom or even just in a relationship that causes you guys to stray? What are some things that women do unknowingly, whether it be in the bedroom in the course of sex or just in a relationship, that cause you guys to want to stray or that cause you guys to stray?
Well, you know what? The thing is, you got to remember at the beginning of a relationship, and I'm going to let all the guys because we're all different, right? At the beginning of a relationship, everybody's trying to put forward their best foot. So nobody is going to keep up everything that they were doing 100% at the beginning of a relationship, especially if you have a long relationship. So if you have, some porn star sex, you know what I mean? Y'all got a marathon session, and as time go on, you know what I mean, you have a partner that starts saying, "Oh, I'm tired," and stuff like that. You start to you still have that same drive.
Right.
So whether it's the man or the woman, you know what I mean, it's kind of unsexy to lose your breath or get tired in the midst. Hold up, let me get a drink of water.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that other partner is like, "Yo, I'm still, what happened to you?
Right.
Come
Ready
on,
to
man."
go. Mm-hmm.
So that could be.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, keep it up. Keep it up.
So the question is unknowingly, right?
Yes.
All right. So if you start out and you're taking the D, I mean, you're taking it well, like you should. And all of a sudden you say, "Ouch, I can't take no more." So that's like, whoa, what's going on here? So something a little bit different. Either you're not concentrating or something. So
You're not concentrating. Okay.
I'm just saying.
I heard that.
I'm just saying. So unknowingly though.
Yes.
Wow. I guess for me, a man is going to go where he can get peace of mind, and that's the key. That's what it basically comes down to. Whether it's sexual peace of mind, whether it's the other girl can take it or whatever, or whether it's just peace of mind, you get away from the nagging, or as a relationship goes on. I think it worked both ways, but both men and women begin to nag. They want their needs met, and by any means necessary, that's what they want. And sometimes it requires some nagging to get your needs met. Right. And if a man is willing to meet that need, he will withstand the nagging. If he's not willing to meet that need, the nagging is just going to become louder and louder over time until the point where he's going to go where there's no nagging, great sex, good food, a 50-inch TV with the game on, and she's not bothering him, where he can just chill. Because at the end of the day, we just want to chill.
And the thing that comes with that is, we get into relationships that are sexual or that we had these fun times. You don't realize that those fun times only occur 3 times a month or twice a month. Mm-hmm. And then you get into a relationship and you have to go every day with this person. Then you start to see the crust of the person and how they wake up. They didn't wake up like this, and you get to know a person. Things naturally slow down.
Right.
And you might even, if you only get those times 3 times a month again, it's going to seem like less because you're spending more time together and you're learning each other and you're seeing the whole 24-hour of a person, not just having fun. When you're messing around, you get there, she got makeup on in the morning. You wake up in the morning, might have makeup on. You're like, how that? She got up 2 hours early to put some makeup on and wait for you to wake up. And then you get together and all those things stop. They stop because it's natural to not do that every day. You're messing around with people and you're doing things once a week, twice a week, but it's not 24/7. And then once you get in a relationship and it's 24/7, you realize, like you said, you either got to have something to fall back on, or you're going stray.
You know what? And my thought about that is, I think the main thing that needs to be stressed all the time is communication. Talk to me, because me, like probably every man and every woman, we get relaxed. Mm-hmm. I forget to do some things that I used to do, and so I have the kind of person that says, "Hey, well, you know what? You ain't did this in a long time." But guess what? I'm going now. I'm going to do that.
Right.
You don't have to keep telling me, because what I won't do, the next dude to do it.
Right.
So you don't have to keep reminding me to do the same thing over and over. I'm going to do it if I know it makes you happy. It comes down to communication, and just a conversation you and I having a talk feels less like a nag. And you coming at me, you barking at me about 20 different things. And I always tell you before, like, give me a little bit at a time. Men, we don't receive 20 things at one time. Give me 2 things at a time. Let me master those things. Let me become good at that. And then let me move on to the next couple of things you want me to become good at, or the things that are going to make you happy. But women don't do that. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. I need you to do bam, 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 bam. We don't process things like that.
Right. And then even with that instance, I think and I've heard a lot of women say this, that they may give you 1,000 things at one time instead of 2 because of fear of losing you. So because if I only give you 2 and give you time to process 2 and then wait on the other 15, the other female now comes with her only 5, and now you're off with them. So help us out. I mean, because a lot of men too, females, when we say, babe, we need to talk, oh, here we go. That's your first reaction.
Because when you come at me and says, babe, we need to talk, every time I've heard the phrase, babe, we need to talk, it's a problem.
Right. But what if we're just trying to
rephrase that?
No, but what if we're just trying to have a conversation, because you haven't done in such a long time. So I just want to let you know. But instantly, the expectation, the preconceived notion, something's wrong. Well, I mean, something is really wrong, but because you haven't held me like you used to hold me. What's up? Like, what happened?
Rephrase the babe, I need to talk.
Okay, so rephrase.
Come with that. Come different with that
that's
sometimes.
One solution. Rephrase, babe, we need to talk. Go ahead. You got a comment, a question, or a comment? Oh, okay.
But it's a two-way. It's a two-way street. I mean, if you are requiring us to do something to make you happy, we need that requirement also to make us happy. Mm-hmm. So it can't be a need and not reciprocate type of thing. Right. And I found that in the modern dating, which I'm struggling with, it's always that the female's always requiring, but even in doing that requiring, they forget that we require attention too. Right. We don't demand a lot. We don't even ask a lot, but we want something too.
That's true.
It's tough now. It's a different world now in modern dating.
I definitely think it's give and take. Men have needs as well. Like I said, everybody has needs that they want met, and I think the man's needs are often overlooked. Mm-hmm. For the woman's needs, and even the man often overlooks his own needs to please the woman. Mm-hmm. And I think in doing so, we find ourselves lost, and the woman has everything because we've given it to her to a certain degree, and the man is left with nothing. And then it's a struggle to kind of regain that back and ask certain things of a woman that was never required of her early on. She's like, well, I don't, I don't want to do that. But, I think, like you said, open lines of communication is key on both ends. The man is not always the best communicator orally anyway. We'll get our point across, but it doesn't always come out verbally. So I think communication is definitely the key.
And I want to add to what you just said. Communication is definitely key, but also we have to be mindful of the time of communication. I know I've had a female where I was counseling her and her husband, and she wanted the attention of her husband sexually. So he was in the midst of watching a game, and she came down in her pretty lingerie, and she was prancing in front of the television, and of course he paid her no mind because he was into the game. So of course at that point she automatically assumed he wasn't into her, he doesn't like her, whatever. But reality was, he was very much into her. She didn't let her request be made known, like, babe, hey, I'm interested, I want some. But also, she was mindful that he was in the midst of watching the game, So I think communication is very much so key, but we have to be mindful of the time that we're communicating and what's going on.
It's not a good time.
Fourth quarter.
Your team down by 1, right?
Right. I told her maybe halftime, a commercial break, set something up, but we have to be mindful of the time. Men, do you guys find it easy to communicate your needs to your woman? Or to a woman?
Nowadays,
no.
I mean, it's
a challenge. Yeah, it's because it's a feel type of a thing. It depends on that foundation of a friendship that has been established, and once you get past that get to know you phase, then you kind of understand what you can say, how you can say it, when you can say it. But then once you get past that phase and you understand it later on in a relationship, it's like, wow, when can I really say it? How can I say what I really want to do? How can I say how I feel? And it's a challenge.
Well, you gotta stay. Number one, I think men and women, we're not static, right? We're dynamic. We change over time.
Yep.
So even if you get with somebody and you feel like you got a good handle of what type of person they are, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, they're gonna change. I mean, nobody stays the same. We experience life, And really, you don't want a stagnant person anyway.
Very true.
So I mean, you're constantly relearning. If you get to the point where you think that you're comfortable, you need to rethink that. You need to have your brain open to process new things. What is your partner? What is your spouse? What is your boyfriend, girlfriend showing you now? Where are you at? And that's where that constant communication comes in. Like I said, I wasn't really good at it, but you know, it's a process in learning.
I think men, like I said, I think we do a pretty good job of communicating our needs. I just think the needs that we communicate are difficult sometimes. I mean, we can easily tell a woman, hey, babe, I'm hungry. Babe, I'm tired. You know, babe, I'm horny. You know what I'm saying? Those are the easy ones. But I think, babe, I'm hurt. You know, babe, I'm upset. Babe, I'm broken. You know, I think those for men are difficult because I think to do so, I think we expose ourselves in a certain way where we may not feel as manly, you know, and it depends on how the woman receives it. You know, if you got a good woman, she'll take that, and, you know, if you're broken, she'll piece you back together.
Right.
You got a bad woman, she'll take that and manipulate you and work her way into you and mess you up even more than you already were. So I think it definitely depends on your partner and their level of understanding, you know, and I think a lot of people aren't on that same level of understanding. You
know what? I saw a video a couple of days ago on, I think it was Facebook, and this dude was talking about his woman. He was trying to share with her. She was like, "Oh, why are you in your feelings about that?"
Right.
And he said, "I hate to hear those 3 words, in your feelings." He was like, "Yeah, I want to express things to you, and I want to share my feelings with you, but you make me feel weak about coming to you about how I feel." And then women complain about men not sharing how they really feel, how, you know, men being emotional when it comes to you, because you make us, not all women, but some women make a man look, why are you in your feelings? Like you like a little girl right now. So how am I going to come to you and share have a vulnerable moment with the woman I'm supposed to be with if that's how you make me feel in return? So therefore, women don't always get the real deal from us. You don't always know how we really feel about stuff. And we walk around, we're mad. Now you're mad because I'm not talking to you. And it's just a hot mess all the way around. I know one of the issues I have, and I'll be a bit transparent, whenever I'm having a conversation with my mate, she always feels like I'm trying to do therapy on her. I'm not. I'm not trying to therapy you.
Yes.
I'm having a conversation. So if I'm being attentive to what you're saying, I was like, okay, well, so how do you feel about that? So like little stuff like that, she feels like that I'm trying to have a session with her.
Yes.
I just want to know how you really feel.
I think that's a part of just the fact that we are therapists, and that just comes with and it sucks, because even when I was dating, it was just the worst. Every time they ask, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a stripper. No, not really, but you know, I'm afraid to say that because the first thing they think is you're evaluating me.
Yeah,
no, I'm getting to know you.
Yeah.
How are you? You know, how's your parents? How's your family? Where you from? You know, they think you're always analyzing them. So I think that just comes with, unfortunately, the field that we are in. And to go back to what you said, again, it goes back to the women, and we set the standard in a relationship. If we show our man that he can be vulnerable to us, and we not take that and use it against him, then he'll be more, open to being more open with you later on. You have a comment or a question?
I was just going to touch on what you guys said. I was going to say actually that before Mr. Ed said it, but as females, we kind of have to put ourselves in each other's shoes, and I think we don't think about that a lot. Right. And we become unapproachable to the situation, and like you guys said, you don't know how to approach us because you're like, okay, I'm going to say this, she's going to blow up and get mad. Right. So as women, sometimes we have to be more approachable to the person that we're in the relationship with in order for that communication to continue that we all want. And we all ask for the communication, we don't get it because we're not approachable. And true. I know honestly that can be me sometimes. My attitude gets a little crazy. And they're like, all right, I'm not going to say anything to her because I know her attitude. So sometimes you just have to step back and take a look at the bigger picture of the situation. It's very important.
Absolutely.
And not only that, my other thought is that while you're in that process of being approachable, you also have to make sure that you're understanding, you know, because the one thing that a man does not want is he doesn't want to tell you something for you to laugh in his face. You know, he wants to be able to sit back and have that one-on-one conversation with you and make it intimate. You know, don't just sit there and say, oh, sweetie, and just stroke. No, allow him to sit there and just talk and get it all out. And then as he gets it out, he'll feel more and more comfortable about coming back again, because the one thing that you don't want to do is beat him over the head with what he just told you. You want to make sure that you're building up that relationship to the point to where if he has to come back again, if he talks for a half an hour, let him talk for a half an hour. Not just because you want to hear what he has to say, but because you're going to want him to hear you. You know, so it needs to be that balance that is there in order for that communication to take place.
And not only because you just want to hear what he has to say, but there should be a genuine interest. If you're in a relationship and you're invested in it, now this is not just your side piece, but if this is somebody that you're genuinely invested in, there should be naturally a genuine interest in finding out, well, why is he upset? And what's going on, and how can we help to make that better? Like I think one of the ladies said earlier, we're born nurturers as females. So we want to nurture you. Come lay your head on my breast. We want to naturally, I knew it to get her moving. We naturally are born, nurturers. So we have to, there should be a genuine interest. And if there isn't, then you need to reevaluate why you're in this relationship.
What I was going to say, I think one of the brothers touched on it earlier, one of the biggest misconceptions of why men stray is for sex. I think that's huge, but a lot of it does have to do with the ability to communicate with that other woman. You're over there, sex may be 15, 20 minutes, half hour, whatever, but you're there for 6 hours. So you may be talking that entire time, getting out some of those things that you're unable to get out at home, and it has less to do with sex and more to do, in my opinion, sometimes with that friendship, that connectedness, that ability to communicate with that person than it does to do with sex. That is a small portion of, why you're there.
To go off of what you said, again, going back to the interest, there should be a level of intimacy. All of that, what you're talking about, building a friendship, building, that relationship and that trust, is a level of intimacy. And I heard someone say intimacy stands for intimacy. So that person should be able to let you see inside of me without feeling some type of way. And a lot of women, we do have that because we're natural, we're independent black women, and I don't need a man because I got a dildo. But no, put your hand down because you do. We were created to be together. So we have to allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to be intimate. And intimate is not just the foreplay and the sexual intercourse, but it is those moments of building a relationship, trusting you. Can I trust you? A friendship is not based on how much you can tell a person. It's based on how much that person can trust in you and tell you. I'm going to say that again for those of y'all that came on the yellow bus. A friendship is not based on how much you can tell a person, but it's more so based on how much they can trust you with. So look at your relationships. You might want to evaluate that.
You know what? There's a natural balance to that too, because you might have a woman that say, or a man that say, you know what? I'm like totally approachable. You can tell me anything. I'm there. I'm building with you. But I find that there's a balance there too, because if it's easier to tell some things to somebody who you don't care about. You know what I mean? Like, if you love your girlfriend, if you love your wife, if you love your spouse, boyfriend, whatever, there are certain things that it does not come easy to communicate. But when you have your side piece, when you have your jump off, you don't care for them as much. So you can communicate a little bit more, you know what I mean, because it's easier. Men are very protective of home. And if that woman is what they consider home, they're going to do everything to make sure their castle's intact and in order. And that's why I say those little manipulations come in, what have you. But when you have a side piece who you don't necessarily care about, you know what I mean? You can tell them the world is ending, you can go on about that. So there's a balance there too.
Right.
Yeah.
How does lack of caring turn into sharing everything?
No, I didn't say sharing everything. There's a balance.
But
There's
you're
a
basically
balance.
saying the side piece is the trash,
No,
but you can share everything with the side
What
piece.
I'm saying that there are certain things that it's easier to share with a side piece because you don't care for them as much. I did not say, and this is for certain individuals in certain situations.
Right.
But, you know what I mean? Because you care for what's at home so much, because you care for what's at home so much, you know what I mean, then, you're trying to maintain. Sometimes men and women get into that whole maintenance mode, you know what I mean? So they create an artificial reality to make sure that their castle's pristine. So if you go somewhere else, it's a slump. You got your castle, it looks good, you feel good as a person.
Stay in your castle, then don't go to the slum.
Well, it's easier said than done for certain individuals.
Yeah, the thing he's saying about the relationship and he's saying that you don't care about the other person as much And it's like going to a therapist. You know, you don't know that therapist. You don't know the psychiatrist. You go to that person because you don't know them. So you can tell them how you feel, and they won't judge you, and you won't hear about it next week. And that's why people go outside of their home to get help. That's what therapists are for. I'm a therapist. No, but you're having an intimate moment with that therapist. You're releasing yourself. It's like you're sitting in their office and you're undressing yourself, or
It's the same premise.
It's the same premise. I'm undressing myself. I'm letting my hair down, and I'm telling you how I feel. Now, the same thing goes with the when you're with what they call a side piece. You're being intimate, but you're also communicating at the same time. So you're communicating with somebody who can't really hold it against you. You know what I mean? You're just telling them, you can say you can say things that won't affect, how you sleep at night. You know what I mean? Because you can tell that person, I'm having trouble. Whatever you're having trouble with, it's easy to share because it's not going to come back to you.
And let's be clear, Ms. Kendra, I'll come to you. I'm sorry. Let's be clear. Women do this also. Women have side dudes and who somebody they can go to and they listen to them. They're like, well, I don't want to hear that because your man don't want to hear that. He's heard it 100 times. But the new guy who's interested in you and who hasn't received anything from you, but he's looking to receive something, guess what he's doing? He's going to do everything you telling him your man's not doing. He's going to do it. My man never holds it. He walks in the store before me. I have to get the door myself. So guess what the new guy's going to do? You going in Wawa first. Guess what the new guy's going to do? He's going to pump your gas instead of sitting in the car with the seat back with the music blaring while you out there pumping gas. So women have needs that they want met too. And when their man isn't meeting them and Craig at the job is willing to do it, guess what? Craig might get a little loving behind that. So let's just be clear. It's not just men with the side pieces. I feel like it's been slanted toward us always being out there. When I've been a side dude before. So it ain't, I'm just saying. But I was okay with it.
It happens.
It happens, but I'm just saying women do the same thing that men do. They just don't get the credit that we get in those negative moments. I'm sorry, Kendra.
So I was going to ask, if you care about your significant other, whether you're just in a relationship or you're married, if you care that much about them, why you don't care about this side joint that much, so you tell her everything so she can throw that out there and have your business all in the street. But you care so much about your wife that you won't let her know that you got, that you let her know that she's doing something wrong and you're sleeping with somebody on the outside.
And so can I grab this because we running short on time really quick. I'll tell you, I think because I think Stock said earlier, you're not being judged. You're not saying, because sometimes you can come to your woman with something and they don't hear you.
So why not leave her and go with the side one?
Because of the pristine castle that you want to maintain, as GK said.
Your bricks are falling. The bricks of your castle are falling.
Listen, men like women. Men are worried about how they are viewed. We may not appear to. We do what we want to do. But I know we're running short. But really quick, we do care. And so we are concerned about how people view us and how people view us as being taking care of our family and doing right by them. But if like women, if certain needs aren't being met, then men have the tendency, like women, to go out and get those needs met. It could be just somebody lending them their ear, and all of a sudden it can turn into something else. And that wasn't even the initial intention. And I know we're running short, but we're going to come back and finish this conversation. So y'all sit still. Nobody move a muscle. We're going to come back and we're going to keep talking about what men are really looking for in the women and the other various sidebars that we're having. So stay with us. For you out there watching, please join us next week. We're going to have a continuation of this show. And I am Ed Isabel on behalf of my sister, Janelle, Nellie V, and we are Get Moxie. I just wanted to say that we talked a lot about what men are looking for in a woman, but I truly believe if a woman comes to the table spiritually, emotionally, and mentally stable, I think the relationship can succeed. She also needs to find a like-minded mate who also brings these same characteristics to the table. And if you meet someone in that fashion right there with those traits, I think things will be great.
Absolutely. And don't forget that we stressed today the importance of communication and communicating clearly what it is you need. And also make sure that the person that you're dealing with has an open mind and is truly invested in your relationship. So thank you for tuning in with us today and watching us here at Get Moxie. Look for us again next week, same time, same place, right here on your Lapa TV 28. Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we talked a lot about what men are looking for in a woman, but I truly believe if a woman comes to the table spiritually, emotionally, and mentally stable, I think the relationship can succeed. She also needs to find a like-minded mate who also brings these same characteristics to the table. And if you meet someone in that fashion right there with those traits, I think things will be great.
Absolutely. And don't forget that we stressed today the importance of communication and communicating clearly what it is you need. And also make sure that the person that you're dealing with has an open mind and is truly invested in your relationship. So thank you for tuning in with us today and watching us here at Get Moxie. Look for us again next week, same time, same place, right here on your Lapa TV 28. Thank you.